who is your favorite philosopher?
You know, I'd probably have to go with Charles de Montesquieu, who was probably the most influential political philosopher on the Founding Fathers. Charles de Montesquieu understood power. He understood the risks that accompany power. He understood that power is best managed when it's split up, when it's divided in its different ways. The more I read of Charles de Montesquieu, the more I realize what a profound impact he had on the Founding Fathers and on our Constitution.
I'm kind of concerned, are you in favor or not in favor of voting for, to renew the Patriot Act? And what are your feelings about the NSA and the high power that they have, in invading our privacy?
I'm not in favor of reauthorizing the Patriot Act without significant reforms. And the reason for that relates to my answer to your second question, which is that the NSA right now claims to have the power to collect information on every phone call made by every American from every phone number in America for 5 years at a time and put that in one big database where they can analyze anyone's calling patterns. Now, they insist that there are only a few dozen people who work at the NSA who have access to that database, and that's fine. I'm willing to assume for purposes of this discussion that the fine men and women who work at the NSA aren't currently abusing that authority or that access. But that isn't really the point. You see, the point is the way they gather this data is itself bad, and it sets a dangerous precedent, one that could become vulnerable to manipulation and abuse. And the fact is, Alan, the federal government has no business collecting data on your calling patterns. And we know that sooner or later, somebody, perhaps a year down the road, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years down the road, is likely to abuse that. That's why I'm not in favor of reauthorizing Section 215 of the Patriot Act. Not unless, of course, we have significant reforms. That's why I've introduced in the United States Senate a great bill called the USA Freedom Act. The USA Freedom Act, which was co-sponsored by my friend Pat Leahy, a liberal Democratic senator from Vermont. He's a liberal Democrat, and I'm not. But we do agree on this issue, that the federal government has no business tracking your calling data. It's none of the government's business. And so the USA Freedom Act says that they can't collect information like this unless they can hook that information up to some kind of legitimate investigation into foreign intelligence gathering activity.